Wukusu, peace, black power, and welcome to Harlem Liberation School's YouTube channel. Harlem Liberation School is a black nationalist, pan-African community organization based in Harlem. We provide relevant and credible political education to help black people wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Brother Malcolm X. To do this, we provide panel discussions, political commentary, mini documentaries, leadership tips, classes, and interviews with some of our most dedicated and effective leaders, activists, and intellectuals around the world. Peace and black power families, Brother AGYEI from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach our people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Hopefully everyone can hear me. According to what I'm looking at, the mic is working just fine, so that's a great thing. I'm gonna get a little closer here. Well, family, got a lot going on. We're building out the channel. We're trying to provide more value, more content. We reached a little over 7,000 subscribers the other day. We're very happy about that. We certainly thank every one of you who has been part of that and watched video. Some of you have actually been on some of our broadcasts. We feel the love and we respect the appreciation and love. And because of that, we're building up the channel. So we now have every second Wednesday our good brother Bomani Uhuru Shakur, who's doing a live every second Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. He's doing a live, or we're doing a live broadcast about political prisoners. That's on every second Wednesday in the month at 6:30. Me and Brother Bomani Shakur. Also, every second Saturday of the month at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have our brother Dr. Dennis Osar Winkler of I want to say the New African. I don't want to misrepresent the name of his organization, but he's a brother coming out of Baltimore doing wonderful work. Um, see him as kind of a cultural nationalist. He's dealing with our spirituality in an African-centered way. He's also dealing with healing and our mental health and things of that nature. That's every second Saturday. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern. So we're building out, and we're going to have Brother Haru that deals with, he owns the business Herbal Results, and he's actually reversing people's diabetes, cancer, family. He's incredible, and he makes his own products. He's every last Tuesday of the month. So we're building out the channel, family. We're trying to give you that information that's relevant and useful for those of us who are serious about being liberated. And it's not a joke for us. We realize that the white man got cable channels on 24/7. We're not quite there, but we want to really build out this channel and build out the organization. Uh, we have my brother, I believe that's Brother Ra from UNIA Radio. He's giving a shout out. Peace to Brother Ra. I do want to say that I was scheduled to be on Brother Knowledgeable in Our Lives due to Knowledge Radio channel, but we were supposed to have started at 6:30, and I haven't heard from my brother, and it became 7. So I said, you know what? I'm going to assume I'm going to pray for our brother, send out positive affirmations, and just hope he's okay. But I assume that something happened, and that's why he wasn't able to be there. I was supposed to be on his broadcast, right? So I assume something happened. He wasn't able to interview me, but the liberation goes on. So I just put it on what I was going to say on his channel, I'm going to say on this channel, Harlem Liberation School. So again, family, I also have it posted on Facebook. Please share the link. We're going to get into some very important things. If we have time, hopefully we will. We have a Q&A. So let me get started. Um, so we're talking about the beauty and burden of ideology. I did a previous video. This is part 2, as we're getting closer to what is supposed to be my next workshop on the 26th. And so let me begin by saying this. Every movement, every organization, and leadership effort, it really depends on 3 key things: clarity, strategy, and unity. And if any of those things are missing, movements, organizations, leadership efforts will fail. That is a fact. It's like having a stool with 3 legs and all 3 legs are broken. You sit on it, you're going to fall. Ideology is often what provides that clarity, that strategy, and that unity, right? But sometimes we, in our organizational efforts, may misunderstand or misapply it. And so, therefore, we have the ideology, but we're not maximizing it. And it's not, we're not using it in a way where it's maximally effective. So, because of that, we have some organizations, some groups that are not quite failing from a lack of passion or a lack of intelligence. I say this all the time, or a lack of talent. We have all three in abundance as a people. But sometimes we don't reach our goals because we're misapplying the ideology, right? So tonight, I want to introduce a critical idea to you, family, and that is very simple, but it's profound. The same ideology that can liberate you, that can unify people, get people on one page and moving uh, toward their liberation, can also imprison you, limit you, and become oppressive, even if you don't understand how to properly apply that ideology and manifest it. So let's I guess we'll begin by defining terms. Let me make sure. Okay. All right, very good. Defining terms. At a basic level, ideology is a framework. It's a set of ideas, a way of understanding power, who has it, how it operates, and what we should do to get it or what we should do to challenge those opposing us, right? Ideology shapes how you interpret problems and what solutions you believe are possible, right? So whether people are conscious of it or not, ideology is already influencing how everyone thinks, organizes, and leads. And let me be clear, we're talking specifically about political or social political ideology, but there's also religious ideology, there's economic ideology. You're Muslim, you believe in Islam, that's a religious ideology, a set of ideas, right? That kind of explains what this religion is about, who their prophet or founder or leader is, and some of the tenets of it, the things that are expected of you, the rituals, the customs, so on and so forth. Same with Christianity or any other religion. And there's economic ideology. Okay, those dollar bills that we fighting and killing each other over sometimes, and trying to spend as soon as we get it. that and here in the United States, that comes through the form of a capitalist ideology. That means it has certain key ideas that characterize it. It it asserts or it has certain assumptions about money. It has certain relationships that it creates between money and people, and it has certain practices as a result of it being an ideology. So ideology does not have to just be political, just that we're talking that way because this is Harlem Liberation School and we're talking about the politics of liberation for Black people, right? But I want you to understand the issue here is not necessarily that I'm castigating or saying that ideology is unimportant. The issue here is that often we're lacking clarity about our ideology and we're lacking balance. And we're going to get into some of this as we go forward. Let's talk about the beauty of ideology, if you will. Another way of saying the pros, the benefits, why it's necessary, right? We want to talk about that. Well, number one, ideology helps people move beyond surface level thinking and begin identifying systems, not just individuals. So, somebody say, "Oh, I've never been a victim of racism." They went to so-called Ivy League schools and they, you know, lived in these really nice neighborhoods, suburbs, nice clothing, always had nice bank accounts. Parents had money. So they say they never been beat up by a cop or anything like that. So they say, I'm not the victim of racism, but what they don't understand is that racism goes far beyond what an individual experiences in the course of their lifetime. It's systematic, right? So the fact that you as a Black person that has that life I just outlined are a minority of Black people. Most Black people don't have that experience, and the reason most Black people don't have that experience is because of white supremacy and racism, which is systematic, right? That's important. Ideology creates a shared language, key terms and concepts, and that's important because it allows people to define what they're fighting for, what's worth fighting for, right? And to organize beyond their small circles and to start building collective power. And though I kind of mixed this up, look at my notes. Ideology provides a moral compass. It gives us direction to tell us what type of world do we want? What type of society do we envision? We don't like this one. Okay, so what type of society do we want to create? So that gives our movement direction. You know, what lines should not be crossed, right? How do we define? How do we know when we've been liberated? What's our criteria? All of that comes through your ideology, right? So it gives directions, helps the movements decide whether they are heading toward their goal or whether they're going backwards away from their goal. And I would argue that when used correctly, ideology helps to create a sense of discipline, of alignment, and of purpose. And it gives people a sense of collective identity. Christians organize around the ideology that they're Christians and what Christian means and what Christians do and how Christians worship, right? What type of Bibles they use, all these things. For us, that means nationalism, Pan Africanism, socialism, if you will, Africana womanism gives us a sense of identity. It helps us see ourselves as being part of a large team working together towards common goals, right? With a certain set of principles that we all buy into and practice and things of that nature. So it really helps with identity and collective work and responsibility. And this is why just about every powerful movement in history has relied on ideology. Just about every type of movement you can think of, whether you're talking about the Enlightenment, whether you're talking about enslavement was based on ideology, right? Whether you're talking about how America became how white people came here and colonized, that's imperialism. Imperialism is an ideology. Yeah. So all of these things, ideologies can be quote unquote good or progressive or backwards and oppressive, right? Depends on how people use them. Okay. Now, let's pivot for a minute. Here's where things get complicated with ideology. And the problem is not necessarily in ideology itself, but how people relate to it. Many individuals and organizations, they move from using ideology to being controlled by ideology. And this becomes a problem when that type of shift happens. It goes unnoticed for long times until great damage has been done. And that's the sad part. People don't sometimes realize it until after it's created a lot of harm. And by that time, the wise people who have been trying to warn people have been ignored for years and years and years. So we better be careful with this. This looks like it's going in this direction. People don't listen. Next thing you know, that's some really bad things that occur as a result of the misapplication of ideology. Um, Now that I see Sister Ursula is in the building. Peace, Sister Ursula. Thank you for joining us, and everyone else joining us as well. Right now, we went through some of the foundational things. The beauty. What's the burden now? This is the part I'm concerned about. The good things of ideology, I love. I embrace it. I teach it. It's the burden. It's these parts that are troublesome and merit our attention. And let's get into that. Some of the risks. Sometimes ideology can become very rigid, and people stop questioning whether their approach is effective. People don't listen to other perspectives or other ideologies that may give them very important ideas and other ways of moving and strategizing. Sometimes movements become way too focused on internal agreement rather than external impact. What do I mean? Means that sometimes people are more focused on who agrees with them. The criteria doesn't become, does someone have a good idea? Is this going to push us closer to advancement and liberation? Is this going to put us in a situation where we're self-determined, or is this going to keep us on the plantation? No. Sometimes with ideology, when people become very rigid and narrow, it it makes their mind like concrete, family. You can't get nothing through to it. So now, instead of saying, is that a good idea? Is this a good move to make? Should we follow this plan? People like, uh, does it fit into what we believe? It's like, yo, sometimes what you believe is incorrect. I mean, let's keep it real. Some of the greatest leaders made miscalculations and misjudgments, right? That's a fact. We know that from history. Um, the other thing is that when ideology can become so rigid and what we call fundamentalist, right? That not only do people say, well, if you don't agree with us, we don't want to hear that, or this is the only book that we read, or this is the only leader we feel is valid. This is the only way. You hear people say, no, it's the only way. That's usually a sign that something's fundamentalist, something isn't going in the direction of a cult, something may becoming fascist, right? It's intolerant of new ideas. That's not good. And then it becomes a thing where if somebody disagrees, is in a meeting, and they say, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea because ABC," the people turn around and say, "Oh, you're an enemy." The real simplistic us versus them analysis, right? Uh, so now what happens is because you're deemed to be disloyal. Anybody who has a different idea that is now considered an enemy. They're disloyal. Now they're an agent. Like, come on, family, really, right? And then what happens is our organization doesn't grow. An organization, like a person, can never reach their full potential if their mind is closed. Just like you can never get any money if your fist is always closed. It's the same thing. The only, right? So I hope we understand. It's like having a parachute. If you jump out of a plane with a parachute and it stays closed, you're dying. That's like a brain. A mind should stay open. Once it starts getting all rock solid, that's a bad thing. You can't adjust to things as they come. You're rigid. You're not open to new ways of thinking and new ideas and strategies, right? A movement can't go far like that. An organization can't go far unless it's a cult. That's a whole nother broadcast that we need to talk about. Um, in some cases, protecting the ideology, being loyal to the ideology, becomes more important than serving the people and moving our people towards liberation. That's a real bad thing. That's what we call mission drift. When an organization start out and say, we're here to feed our people, clothe our people, protect our people, liberate our people, have our people in their own territory, write their own laws, whatever. But you now become so caught up in the books to read, the person to follow. So and so said, so and so said. So okay, we know. Okay, thank you. We get it, right? What so and so said and so. But this is a whole nother time period. This is a whole nother. There's different things going on. So and so may have been perfectly sound saying it in the 20s or the 60s. The world is very much different now. So maybe we need to keep that in mind what so and so said, but yet be open to what we see. There's new trends going on. People don't read hardcore books anymore like that. People reading ebooks now. People aren't watching TV news as much. People are watching TikTok, believe this or not, Instagram and YouTube for their news, which means by definition that they're going to get a higher quality of good independent news, but also they're going to get a huge flood of people who don't know what they're talking about. I mean, let's keep it real. Just a bunch of people who don't know nothing about geography trying to teach geography. Nothing about politics trying to teach politics. Nothing about nationalism portraying themselves as nationalists and Pan-Africanists. So in that type of very confused world, that is not like it was in the 60s and the 20s. where black people were segregated and oppressed, and everybody was clear on who the enemy was. We couldn't go into white spaces, so we had to become tight with each other. We saw each other every day. We related to each other every day. You didn't have to teach people that so and so people were their enemy. You didn't have to worry about people moving far away because they couldn't. They had to stay in segregated communities. It is different now, fam. So our ideology has to be able to address the different nuances and the ways in which the world has changed somewhat, right? Or else we stay stuck. We're using outdated weapons against an enemy who's constantly evolving, studying how we move, studying the different elements of our culture, using elements of our culture against us, like our music, for instance. Absolutely, right? So when we don't, when we become too rigid with the ideology, we risk something that's so beautiful and positive becoming almost like a prison. And so organizations don't just slow down and become stagnant, family. They actually can become oppressive, right? And there are several, I'm not going to get into it here because I don't want to give everything away. Remember, I have the workshop talking about this in specific ways on March 26th. The information is in the description section of this video. If you want to register, you can go click on that link and register. March 26th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to get into it. A simple way to think about this is that ideology is a tool. It's not It's not everything. It's a tool. Liberation is the goal, huh? Ideology is the tool to help you understand what you're up against, who's involved, how they benefit, how they oppress you, how we internalize our oppression, the different strategies we can use to combat our oppressors, and the type of world we want to put in its place and how we create that world. That's what ideology does, right? Tools are meant to be used, evaluated, and adjusted with time, right? The moment you start feeling like you can't question something, you're an enemy, you're a traitor, you're a sellout because you say, well, I don't know if we should be doing that now. I think we need allies. We can't do this by ourselves. Oh, you're an enemy. Once we get there, family, I can tell you we're in a bad place. You're no longer using ideology. The ideology might be using you. And I'm concerned that sometimes our people haven't been trained or haven't been taught to recognize when that type of shift is occurring. It goes from this is our ideology, it's a framework, it's imperfect. It is imperfect. There's certain things every ideology doesn't cover, right? People want to sell it like the ideology has all the answers, and they don't. They don't, family. So, so I just have to say that, right? Let me put some other comments in. United Radio, he's African Senate, Tao Te Ching, based on African philosophy, said, you like to be blown to and fro, you lose connection with your root. Towards to me, okay. He says you should hold fast the original culture. That is that being rigid. I would say no, that's not being rigid, right? Here's the thing, and I want to give an analogy. We have to be like feathers and anchors at the same time. By that I mean we have to be able to flow, have the flexibility to flow high and see things from looking down on it, to see things in their complexity and their entirety. That takes, we have to be light. We can't be too heavy, too rigid, right? But we have to be like an anchor, speaking to your point, so that we don't become these feathers like balloons that you let loose. They're just infinitely, they're just going on infinitely in outer space. But it's a balance, family. It's a balance. We listen, it's like I'm gonna say it like this to those of you who are parents. This is the way I raise my kids. And I want you to hear me. There's two ways you can raise your kids. You can raise your kids, you do everything for them, you answer all their questions, you're always there, you smother them, you cuddle them, you baby them. They never have to figure nothing out. You do everything. And then they become 20, 30, and 40 and can do nothing for themselves. And you're dead and gone. Because their whole life, they kept calling you. You kept doing everything for them. When they get into situations, instead of them being able to say, well, this is what's the process of solving a problem? This is the process. Identify the problem, identify my resources, make sure I understand the nature of the problem, make sure I don't minimize it or maximize it, and then think of how I can use my resources to solve the problem. Resources being money, people, or whatever, right? That's what a parent's supposed to do. Teach them the process so they can figure things out for themselves. But some people do all that for the kid. So now the kid is a grown man, don't know how to do anything. Everything they do, well, what would dad say? Well, what would mama? They're completely crippled. And now they are at a great disadvantage in a world where we must be able to independently think and solve problems. It's the same with ideology. Didn't we learn our lesson from Brother Malcolm? Didn't Malcolm show us? Didn't he show us what happens when you get into an organization and you become ideologically rigid, like he did with the NOI? Didn't he have to come and say, "Hey, he disagreed. He saw things differently. He thought it wasn't revolutionary enough. He thought it was too conservative." Excuse me. Excuse me. He thought it was becoming rigid, too conservative. They were saying this on one hand, and they weren't doing this on the other. The community was looking upon them as, man, they only help Muslims. They don't really get involved with the rest of us, right? He wanted to get global. He wanted to get involved with Pan Africanism and talk and have dialogue with people in different parts of the world, not just Africa, other parts of the world. The nation wasn't with that, right? So eventually, it seemed like he was set up to be made so uncomfortable that he would leave, which is what he did. And then he was killed with some of their members, whether they were through the hands of CIA, FBI, or not. What's my point? He tried to tell you. Malcolm said this. He said all this, and his life shows and proves it. That ideology can have you a slave. You know, Public Enemy had that line. Every brother ain't a brother 'cause a black hand squeezed on Malcolm X the man. Wow. It's almost like to say, what black man could have killed Malcolm? Well, if that black man believed in a rigid ideology that says anybody who disagrees is an enemy, and anybody that's an enemy got to go. That's what we're talking about. So if anyone is unclear on what we're talking about, right? That's what we're talking about. Or in Zimbabwe, or a lot of the African independence movements. Some of these countries started off nationalists or Pan-Africanists. They ran the white man out. They had big independence ceremonies with beautiful music and food and African people celebrating and great speeches. Then within a few years, the leaders of some of those revolutionary movements started saying, "Up, I'm going to change the Constitution. One party, which is my party, and I'm going to be the leader for life. One newspaper, one radio station, and then there'd be elections, but they would all be rigged." Is anybody Does anybody know the history I'm talking about here? Am I connecting with y'all? This is real, what I'm talking about. I'm not pulling this out of thin air. So we have examples of our people who were revolutionaries, who were liberation fighters, where their ideology it helped them to achieve liberation, and then it turned them into demons, family. And now, instead of fighting the oppressors, they become oppressive. So this is important. This is this is not to be dismissed. And I hope people understand me. I'm giving you history. This is not. Listen, when I was a kid, when I was about 10 years old, I never forget. There was a Newsweek cover, and it was a picture. It looked like hundreds and hundreds of black dead bodies in a pile. And I remember saying to my dad, he had the magazine. I said, "Dad, why are all those black people dead like that?" I was 10 years old. He said, "Oh," I said, "Where are they?" He said, "They're in Guyana." Right? Explain Guyana's in South America. Okay. He says, I said, "Why are they dead?" He said, "They joined a cult." I said, "What is a cult?" So he's breaking all this stuff down. I said, "But why are they dead like that?" He said, "Because the white man that they believed in, who started out helping black people, had all these different colors, people coming together, feeding the poor, feeding the hungry, and helping the poor, and he was a so-called warrior for all people. Started out real sweet, real good, and then suddenly it became oppressive. It turned into a cult. Now instead of him being some white preacher named Jim Jones, who was helping black people and all these other people, who supposedly was a socialist, we later found out he was a CIA agent, but that's another show. All of a sudden, he became repressive. And now this church he had, People's Temple, that was supposed to be this, universal church that welcomed everybody, now became a cult. Now he became God. So what's he do? People in America was trying to warn people. Other parts, it was like, yo, this is when he was in California. Say, yo, this guy, this white dude, he has a cult. And people wasn't calling their he's taking people's money. Nobody listened. So now there's a few people that's on his case that's trying to get him prosecuted, right? So what does he do? He leaves and goes to Guyana and he sets up his own community called Jonestown. And guess what he does with these black people? Because most of the people there were black. He makes them work from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. But he started out saying that his gospel was to liberate them. You see? And then it switched. So now the people that he supposedly liberated, he got them working like their ancestors, having sex with every man, woman, or child he wanted to, depriving people of food, using his guard to beat people up. Eventually, he actually killed had a U.S. senator killed who came to investigate him. I'm just trying to give you different examples of what happens when somebody may start off with a good idea, but they become corrupt. And now they're chasing money and power. They realizing I can speak well, I got charisma. The women are digging me. Now they start getting with all the women. They start having people signing off, all these old people signing off their social security checks to this dude. But it's not just white people. We've done it. I'm trying to get y'all to see. You got to know that this is why the history is key. If you don't believe me, look it up. Different revolutionary movements where people start out nationalists, pan-Africanists, socialists, and now, and not only that, let's go to our own. Let's right here in America, United States, of the things that were done by some people who share my ideology, nationalism, pan-Africanism, and things that were done to women who disagreed with something, a particular idea of an organization. The next thing you know, they're in a cage for 2 weeks. The next thing you know, they're getting a water hose shoved down their throat with water pumped through it. The next thing you know, they're having parts of their bodies put in wrenches. Yeah, man, let's talk. You want to talk? Let's talk. That's the history. And that history exists for us not to ignore it, but to keep that in mind. This is a beautiful thing, ideology, but it can get real ugly, family. And not only can it get real ugly, we have history that shows us it has gotten real ugly. And that's what I'm trying to get y'all to see. And don't get so caught up that you can't see that. This is very important. Um, so here's a few questions I want y'all to sit with. I want you to think about this. Have you ever been in or seen an organization that focused more on being right than on being effective, getting things done? Have you ever felt pressure to agree with something, even when you disagreed or didn't have doubts, but you was afraid to say it because you was afraid that you get your ass kicked, or that you would be everyone would turn their back on you. And see, that's the other thing. Any organization, if you say, I disagree with A, B, and C, but I still love the people, I still love the organization, I still want to do the work. And then people say, wait, you don't agree with A, B, and C? And they all turn their backs on you, don't return none of your calls, don't go to your house no more. You're not welcome over at their house. Social isolation. See, all of these things are signs of people who are misapplying ideology. It's now become a cult. That's not what this ideology is supposed to produce. I don't give a damn who says it's different. That is not what a liberation ideology is supposed to produce. Now, if you become a traitor, that's different. But I'm talking about regular people that just have a difference of opinion. They want to try a different strategy, or they're asking questions. And I'll never forget, going back to the Jonestown example, I'll never forget. You can go to YouTube, you could type it in, and you can hear the last hour of Jonestown because it was taped. And once the white senator came and brought some reporters, he was investigating because parents would say, "Yo, my kid up and went to Guyana, and they won't talk to us, and we think we hear it's a cult, and we hear that he's sexually abusing people." So the U.S. senator went to investigate, right? And when they tried to get on the plane, Jones had his people kill the senator family. Do y'all understand? Y'all not hearing me? That ideology, man, if it's misapplied, misused, it can be oppressive. I'm not going to talk about other revolutionary leaders that were so married to their ideology, like Joseph Stalin and millions of his people dying of starvation. He's supposed to be a revolutionary leader, right? Millions of his people dying of starvation. I'm not going to name another one in Asia. People were eating trees, bark off of trees, starving because this person is applying ideology. This is the way we're gonna grow food. We're gonna rely on agriculture. We renounce technology. Okay, I hear you, but once you see your people are eating soil and tree bark and boiling belts and shoes to eat the leather, you're supposed to say, "Oh, we got it wrong," and you're supposed to now say, "No, that's not right." But you keep going. Don't give a damn about those people. That's not what ideology is supposed to produce. You are now the very oppressor that you were supposed to be fighting against. And our inability to see that this should not be this should be an easy, what I'm saying should be so easy sell. You should be like, yeah, IJ, of course, yeah. If we start on a road to help free people, and then it goes left, and now we're killing people, isolating people, starving people to death, imprisoning our people, that's not good. Period. Period. And if you can't see that, see, that's what I'm saying. The brain has to be flexible. It has to be able to adjust. It has to be able to learn from the past. Malcolm did. Everybody said they follow Malcolm so much. Malcolm learned from the past. He said, wow, I was in an organization that was closed. It didn't allow for difference of opinion. And if you were trying to do something else or propose something else, you will automatically consider what? An enemy. And if you consider an enemy, they kill you. Never kill no white folk. Not saying they should have never killed any oppressive person, but killing each other. And we should be able to see, we intelligent, we should be able to say that something's wrong with that, right? So we have all types of leaders who are revolutionary, going in their freezers, they got body parts, they went crazy, fam. That's not what ideology is supposed to produce. Ideology has to be adaptable, flexible, and we have to move from love. That means that, yes, we disagree with some of our people. They frustrate the hell out of us. Sometimes they may not understand what we're trying to do. You get it, but we don't beat them up and torture them because they disagree. We don't do that. We're acting like the enemy. We've internalized the savagery of our oppressor. That is not what ideology is supposed to do. And I want to say, have you ever seen a group that lost momentum because it just couldn't adapt? It just couldn't, it's the George Jetson era, and they in the Flintstone era, and they just couldn't. Yeah, these things are not rare. This is happening and has happened all throughout history. And this is very clear. So if you think I'm making this up, go check the history. Look up um, cases of fundamentalism, right? Look at what happened in Rhodesia, the Hutsi and the Tutsi, Hutu and the Tutsi, and hacking each other and raping the girls and the women. Like, whoa, ideology. This was ideologically driven. And what I'm saying to you is once you're unable to say, to remember, this is what we started this organization to do. This is why we started this party. It's a lofty, beautiful, and noble goal, but somewhere along the line, it went left. The people were supposed to see that and bring it back on track, not keep going left because the leader said so or because so and so said, nah, man, nah. If it's hurting your people, if it's starving your people, if it's leading leaders to sexually assault members of the black organization, it is wrong and it needs to be castigated. Period. Right? Now, if you're in an organization doing that, you don't see that, then we are in trouble. Because that is not why we started an organization. We started them to free the people. If you're coming out of a situation and women are being stoned, there's places where women are stoned because they had in a relationship with a guy, they're not married. Do you know there's situations where women are stoned because gang raped the woman? The poor woman was gang raped against her will, and the woman is stoned. And you're cool with that because your religious ideology says that's what your God wants. That's sickness, family. And if you can't see that, maybe you're becoming sick because at the end of the day, I don't care what you say you're fighting for. If it's oppressing the women, I have a principal at the school I helped to start. She tells me that there's girls. I'm not gonna blame any certain religion. I don't want to do that. She says there's black girls, African girls from the continent, families in a particular religion, coming over here to the States. They're going to school. She got all these girls doing so well, getting offers to go to these specialized high schools and college offers, and girls calling her crying because their fathers and uncles are saying, as girls, they're not supposed to go to school. What you think about that? You think that's cool? Because the ideology says it. See, this is what I'm talking about, family. You think that's cool? That's not cool, right? So on the basis of gender, we saying your religion says that. I don't know where it says it, but on the basis of your religious ideology, now we're gonna say girls can't go to school. As much as we need education to free ourselves, to develop industry, to be able to write legislation, to do agriculture, to know engineering, and to teach, we are telling the majority of our population, because of this deity or book, you can't go to school, and nobody sees that as a problem, then we are sick. I'm just going to say, I'm going to keep it real. That's sick. And Malcolm said it. He had a quote that I'm going to misquote right now. He said, "Black women are amongst the most disrespected, neglected, and unprotected people in the world." So our liberation movements can't get into power. We can't have organizations that get into power, and a sister can't be in your organization, can't be the head of your organization, and you think that shit is cool, then you ain't for liberation, right? That's ridiculous. This is what I'm saying. We get into these ideologies, man, and the supreme leader said this, and this book said that, and that deity said that, and we're unable to think for ourselves. Not correct. This country, this United States of America, has prosecuted quite a few soldiers who have joined the military, took the oath to defend the country against, foreign and domestic enemies, yada, 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 and went to a foreign land. This happened in Vietnam a lot. I saw documentaries, really touching. And so these white soldiers too, family, not just us. These white soldiers, black soldiers, Latino soldiers going over. They never kill nobody like that. Not like that. Not people they didn't know. Then they go into this country and they're seeing others. They're getting commands. You see that village, that hut right there? Burn it. They said, well, wait. We saw mad little kids in there and some women. And we have no, our intelligence doesn't tell us there's enemies. They said, we don't care, kill. But sir, the civilians, that's an order. Most people went and killed. Some people said, no, sir, I can't do that. And they got in trouble. This is what I mean by ideology. Are you so patriotic that you would do something you know ain't right? I don't support it. And I'm doing everything I can to get us away from that. So speaking to my brother Ura, UNIA, when he says that uh, he wants to hold fast to the original culture of his African ancestors. Absolutely. But then the question becomes, did our African ancestors support some of the craziness that we're seeing? Did they support originally before white people came? See, that's the other thing. When we say original culture, we got to mean original culture, meaning before European contact. Were women relegated to inferior positions? Was the rape of women supported? This is what I mean. Were African civilizations and people bloodthirsty? Were we naturally prone to violence, or did we become violent when somebody came up in our space? So this is very important we understand this, and people really need to read Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And I mean read it cover to cover, and read how all these different civilizations were conquered. And you're going to see what I'm saying, because he says the same thing. Look at he has in that book, Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization. He has in the book a constitution. He puts together, studying different cultures. He puts together what an African constitution would look like. Read it. Read Mayat. Where does look? Read Mayat. Go to ancient Kemet. Listen to the 42 negative confessions. I say them every night as part of my devotional. Listen to what you got to say. I have not caused anyone to cry. Listen. I have not said anything false against anyone. In other words, it said false. I do not bear false witness. I did not say somebody uh did something they didn't do. I have not coveted, something like slept with you know, my person's wife or husband. I have not polluted the water. I have not stolen food or defiled someone's land. Yeah, so we talk about it, but we got to be able to talk about it. What do our spiritual systems teach? And you won't find nowhere in there nothing about hurting people. Mayat, if you look at it, it's almost in 42 different ways when you say in those 42 negative confessions, I have not, dot, dot, dot. I have not, dot, dot, dot. You basically saying I haven't hurt nobody. That's the African way. And the only time that we hurt somebody is when somebody's trying to hurt us. So what I'm saying, fam, some of us need to be in that workshop 2026. If there's any reason why I have to postpone it for any reason, I will also let you know. But the 26th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, all information for that is in the description section. I hope people come out, and I hope you tell people, because we are not supposed to be. And if anyone is unclear, let me say this. Has Brother IJ said we shouldn't have ideology? No. Has Brother IJ said, oh, ideology is this bad and evil thing? No. I was very careful and deliberate about how I laid this out. What I'm saying to you is that ideology, if not properly understood and properly applied, can become the very thing that oppresses you. So, for instance, I would give you this parable. You're on a deserted island, you done ate up all the food, you done all the fish. So you like, man, I won't be able to live here as long as there's no food. I have water, but I have no food and stuff. So, but you're able to see a distance away that there's another island, and they got seems to have plenty of food and all that. Seems like there's fish, but you got to be able to get to it. It's a little too far to swim to. So you get some logs and string them together with some seaweed, and you make a makeshift raft. You use the raft to leave the island that you've depleted all its resources to go to this new island. You're like, wow, the fish, the fruit, the vegetation. I'm glad I got here, right? So that raft you use to get from point A to point B to liberate yourself. But how foolish would it be now to take that heavy raft, tie it to your back, and now walk around the entire island all day, every day with that raft on your back? This now means that the very thing you use as a vehicle of your liberation has become now a burden, something that is imprisoning you. You can't move too far with that heavy thing on your back. Ideology is like that raft. It's not it's not supposed to be something that causes us pain. It's not supposed to be something that causes suspicion and distrust among our people, and that is it treats our weakest and most vulnerable populations with disrespect. Liberation is supposed to undo those things because we already live in a society where women are disrespected and unprotected and neglected. We already live in a society where children aren't valued and people molesting them and assaulting them. We already live in a society where people aren't getting a quality education and not learning the tools and trades they need to be self-sufficient and take care of their families. So when we have a liberation movement, the whole goal of that movement and that ideology supporting it, I don't care if it's nationalist, pan-Africanist, womanist, whatever, socialist, is to undo the negative situations that our people face, which means that our ideology is supposed to be talking about how do we own, if you want to use a Marxist term, the means of production. How do we have our own farms? How do we have our own manufacturing plants? How do we make our own cars, preferably run by battery? How do we create our own computers? How do we learn to nation build, to legislate, to write our own legislation, to police our own communities? Grow our own food, have our own markets and supermarkets, our own distribution chains. That's what liberation movement is supposed to do. That's what your ideology is supposed to do. It's supposed to come in, assess the problems, identify who's the source of your problems, tell you what happens when you internalize their oppressive belief systems and propaganda, and equip you with strategies to resist them and build for yourself. But if your liberation ideology got certain dudes saying, oh, they can have sex with whoever they want, they can violate people's marriages, they can bomb schools because the people in that school don't believe their religion. I mean, this is ridiculous, family. It's ridiculous. And so I'm going to stand fast in what I believe because what I believe comes from serious study and it comes from me coming up against people who are so rigid. Do I need to mention certain names? I'm not going to do that to embarrass the people that join these organizations that were true believers. They wanted something better. They thought they had something better, and they were duped by cult leaders. So I'm not going to call out the organizations because I don't want to disrespect the good people who joined them and were misled. But we have person after person abusing little kids and their mothers and their fathers, stealing their money, getting them to participate in crimes that were so heinous and egregious, things these people normally would have never done. And they're killing people and raping people because the so-called supreme leader of whatever organization they're in used their ideology to make them believe if they didn't do it, they wasn't real. I don't support that, and you really shouldn't support that, right? Because I would think my father and mother raised me such that, yo, my father used to say, you see that dude all messed up, scratches on the face, bent over, his hands all swollen? Yeah, he's using heroin. You want to be like that? Like, no. As a little kid, no, thank you. My father made it clear. He said, then don't mess with drugs. And he described it to me. Guess what, though? Eventually, I became 13, 14, 15 in Harlem. I'm walking around, I'm playing football, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And I had friends that was doing all types of stuff. Coke, weed, woolies, mixing coke and crack together, smoking it, mescaline tablets, heroin was all over the place. Right? My father wasn't with me everywhere I went. I had to be able to say, nah, I'm not doing that, man. Yo, man, you smart. You going to school. Yo, you got to get the cab. You on the football team. You popular. Yo, you sell this rock. You get paid. I had to be able to say no. Mm-mm, I'm not. Why? Because they have an ideology. It's called hustle, get rich, die trying, walk over, step over, kill whoever's in the way. That's an ideology, fam. And somebody in our community has to say, "Nah, I'm not doing that." It's participating in death. Let me tell you about Malcolm, because we all talk about Malcolm. Let me tell you about Malcolm. I saw a Gil Noble episode, and he had two brothers on. One was his photographer, and one was like his right hand man, just down with him. One that said his name was Earl Grant, and he recalls a story where they were on 135th Street. For those who don't know, 135th Street is a huge street thoroughfare in Harlem. You got Schomburg Library there, you got the world famous YMCA over there. It's just a lot going on 135th. It's huge, and it runs all the way from City College all the way to the east side to the bridge, through Lenox and all that. So they get out the car. Bumpy Johnson, who as you know from if nothing else from the TV show The Godfather of Harlem, was the Godfather of Harlem, of heroin and racketeering and numbers and all of that, right? He's getting back then. They had these shoe shine, these tall. You sit on them, and a guy will come and shine your shoes. Bumpy Johnson's getting his shoes shined, right? So he sees Malcolm. He gets up, says, "Hold on." He gets up, comes down off the little stand, comes up to Malcolm and his boy Earl Grant. Says, "Hey, brother Malcolm, how you doing?" He says, "I'm all right." Says, "Hey, man, I hear you having problems with the Muslims." Malcolm said, says, "Listen, man, this is Bumpy Johnson telling this to Malcolm. This is his right hand man saying this on the Gil Noble show. Who was there?" He says, Bumpy Johnson told Malcolm, "Hey, Malcolm, it takes nothing but a phone call to me, and that your problem is gone. Because I don't like them Muslims anyway." This is what Bumpy Johnson's saying. Okay? Earl Grant, Malcolm's friend, says, Malcolm looked down, took a deep breath. He said, "Thanks, Bumpy, but I don't want to see black people killing black people. There has to be another way." That's the type of people you want leading your organization. Not people that's locked to our ideology. Up there, then yeah, brother, kill them all. Think about this, man. Malcolm needs to be studied better. Yeah, Malcolm, man. And he said he has a whole quote about criticism, that you have to be able to take critique, that you don't grow without critique. And what we're saying here is that if an ideology has to be able to withstand critique, that's how it gets better. What is nationalism or Pan Africanism's position on sexism? What is nationalism and Pan Africanism's view on poverty? What is our position on military service, imperialism, colonialism, right? All of these different, the rise of AI. What's our position? And that position must be principled, because if that position is just ideological, family, ideologies go left all the time, man. And when I say left, I don't mean Marxist left. I mean left, they go wrong. Yeah, this is real talk. Go through history, see if I'm lying to you. Check out Zimbabwe, see if I'm lying to you back in the day. Rhodesia. We can keep going. Or Uganda. You keep going, keep going. Several examples we have. People started out liberation leaders. The power got to them. The money got to them. The sex from any woman they wanted got to them. And they lost their mind. And now they became oppressive. Now they went from revolutionary to reactionary. This is the problem with ideology. We have to make sure that we keep it principled. And this is why I argue that our movements must have a spiritual component. They must. And by spiritual, I don't mean you got to wear a certain thing, pray a certain direction, a certain amount of time. I mean that it has to have an ethical piece to it, a code that says, no, we don't do that. And if we do that, we only do that with one caveat. Somebody coming to us, we're gonna take their heads off. Other than that, we don't certain things we don't do. Because if you don't have a code, you become an animal, man. We know that from those of us who came up in the streets, right? Even the people in the streets had a code, did they not? I see people in who I know what I'm talking about. There was a code. Because with no code, things run amok. And what I'm saying to you is that we have to make sure we don't do that. As I conclude, what people I find are missing when we talk about this ideological piece, they're missing a clear framework for how to use their ideology without becoming rigid and inflexible. They need to understand how to stay principled without becoming ineffective. In other words, you can have principles and still be effective, but you got to be doing both. They have to understand how to balance your belief, your strategy, and real world outcomes and be able to see the world clearly. Remember, I told you without naming them, out of respect of certain people who led whole countries, revolutionary movements, and the masses, their people were starving and eating tree bark. Hmm. One person killed over a third of their country's citizens. Cambodia. There's a whole movie about it, The Killing Fields. See, this is what happens when ideology goes left and nobody says anything. Because after all, it's the ideology. And the grand supreme leader or the grand poobah or whoever said this is what it is, so we just all go with it. No. We're supposed to always be able to independently think. Always. We're supposed to you look, you in an organization, this nationalist, this pan-Africanist, and it goes, let's say it went crazy, it's going off the road. It's now engaging in all types of craziness. Yo, there's these little girls in there. You're supposed to be like, excuse me? No, sir. No, sir. I have no part to that at all. I don't give a damn who said it and what book is written in. If we can't do that, we're in trouble, fam. We're in trouble. So what I'm arguing is we need ethics and we need to be able to think critically and we need to be able to also say, look, check this out. So Trump is in power right now, and I'm going to conclude because this is going long enough. Trump is in power right now because he's backed by a racist, right-wing, ultra-conservative group called the Heritage Foundation that had the good sense. Now I'm going to tell it like it is. It's the truth. They had the good sense to put a playbook into effect. Stop talking about it, be about it. They got 100 different individuals and groups in the white Christian nationalist movement, uh, the right wing white racist movement, all of whom have disagreements to work together to create this document. They started back in the 70s. By the time Ronald Reagan was elected president the first time, they gave him that piece of the playbook they had written up to that point. Right? So Reagan's presidency was guided by the playbook they had, but that playbook wasn't done yet. Now with Trump, they had years now to put this thing, really put it together. They put together almost 1,000-page blueprint, a book that you can get online, you can download it. They were so brazen. They they had so little respect for us. They put the shit on the internet. Well, you could download it. It's called Project 2025. HarlemLSchool told you about it. I see Brother Blitz, the Brooklyn General, was on here. Brother Karim, he was on an episode with me, and we was telling people about this Project 2025 years ago. People took it, didn't people were sleeping, and now what's he doing? I saw on a thing where they had a high school kid in the Bronx. They they kidnapped him from I think his house or wherever, took him to Pennsylvania, whatever, some city or a state that was not a sanctuary city or state, meaning they don't protect so-called legal immigrants. The people came and took him and put him in a detention center. This kid was supposed to be, it was a high school sophomore, junior. He's been today he got released. Today he's been in a detention center for 10 months. That is ridiculous. And the ICE agents doing it are operating out of an ideology. And they're going to defend that no matter what. And I'm saying that's wrong. They're going to do that fine. We can't do that. That's what I'm saying. We can't be beasts. Nah, man. We are the civilizers of this earth. We are the people, the radical conscious of this world. We are the people who make uh take wrong and make it right. When the train goes off the trails, we put it back right on the tracks. That's who we are. That's the role we've always played, right? But we have to be clear, like Malcolm. If you join something and you see, oh, this ain't exactly what I signed up for. It used to be great. It's going down a dangerous path, and no one's listening to me. You got a choice to make. You stay with that and become contaminated with what they're doing, or you leave it and start something new, right? So go back to look at Chancellor Williams' book, Destruction of Black Civilization. Look at that African Constitution. Look at the things that we were teaching that we believed. For real, for real. And then go back and look at Mayat. Look at those 42 negative confessions. Look at what you say, what you have not done. And you tell me, does that seem like a people who don't care about life, animal, plant, or human? No, we're different. We're different. That ain't to say you be nobody's sucker either, right? Somebody come and get you, your lady, your family. You do what you got to do. That's besides. That's common sense. I'm saying our ethos, right? We going out killing other brothers and sisters because they disagree with us, and now we down with FBI and CIA plans. And come on, nah. There should have been something else to say, something in us that says if Harlem Liberation School had some type of so-called disagreement with another black group, we talking about that. If I'm hearing somebody say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this and that," yeah, I'm gonna call them up. They're gonna be talking about here. I'm gonna call them up, and we're gonna have a conversation about that because that's not why I got into this to hurt no other brother or sister. But I'm telling y'all, family, and history will back me up 1,000,000,000%. There are so many cases where people got in revolutionary movements, won their liberation, and became vicious. You hear me? Vicious. Somebody disagree with them, they take them out to Congress, put them in an underground jail, Mobutu, and you never hear from them again. When I leave Fort George Foreman in Zaire, in the Congo, what Muhammad Ali didn't know, that way underground, under the stadium where he fought Foreman, thousands of prisoners. And these are Africans whose big crime was saying that this guy was ruining the country. What he's doing is wrong. So tell me, family, you talking to somebody that knows this history now. We ain't talking abstract facts here. I'm telling you, this is what happens. If nobody, this is the man who set up Patrice Lumumba and colluded with the United States and Belgium, the United Nations. Hmm. Yeah, because his ideology was capitalism. His ideology, even though this man was his friend, put him in office. Belgium in his ear, United States is in his ear. United Nations, which is supposed to be protecting the countries from this stuff, was down complicit with it. And because his ideology was money. He said, so you give me money and you make me the head of the whole country instead of just the head of the military? They said, yeah. Boom. It was a done deal. And that beautiful brother, that beautiful black man, Patrice Lumumba, who became the head of the Congo, was shot to death, had his body chopped up and dismembered in several pieces, and put in a tub and put it in a barrel where they poured battery acid on that man. That's what he gets because some Negro decides that he's going to serve his ideology. Money, chasing the bag. No, I categorically say no. Emphatically say no. Or as Godbody would say, non-cipher. I don't support it, and I don't support anybody who supports it. Period. Right? We don't have to, we become like the beast, we got a problem. All the people we respect came to civilize those savages, if they could. That's a whole nother show. We came to bring a knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to this earth, to bring it back to the way it was under our rule, where people were allowed to be. I don't support that. That's a little weird to me, but as long as they don't come over here and contaminate over here, boom. See, we wasn't telling people you gotta do this. Nah, that's not our way. Our thing is just that we don't supporting that as long as you don't try to impose it over here. Hey man, you go ahead and live. You're gonna have to answer to the creator of to the cosmos and the universe, not us. I'm telling you, family, take this ideology thing seriously because I'm gonna predict to you, and it's really not a prediction, it's just looking at history. You're gonna see in your lifetime a lot of ugly things happen under the guise led by organizations where the people are black nationalists or pan-Africanists or socialists or whatever the hell they are, and using their ideology to justify some criminal, egregious, immoral acts against men, women, and children. But saying all along, and I can call some out here, but again, out of respect for the good people that joined these organizations who didn't know better, who wasn't trying to do harm, I'm not going to put them on the line. I'm not going to make them feel bad. But family, we got organizations where they was doing some ugly stuff. The leaders were very intelligent, knew different languages, all well traveled, stealing money from people, lying to people, sexually abusing the women and men and children. Tell me when I'm wrong, though. Tell me what I said is wrong. This is facts. So this ideology thing is important. I hope you all will come and check that out. Without this type of balance and this ability to see things clearly, no matter our what lens we looking at, nationalism, Pan-Africanism, socialism, African womanism, whatever you're looking at, you gotta be able to see things and people clearly. So let me go back to your boy Trump real quick. Trump got the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation got over 100 crackers who are racist, who want to return this country to pre-Civil War times, family, who had disagreements, got them together to write this almost 1,000-page document called Project 2025, and they put it in play. And everything you see Trump doing now is in that book. You can go right on the internet and print it. Well, I wouldn't print it out; it's a lot of paper, but you can read it. How he's going to try to take over and expand the powers of the executive branch. He's going to pounce on the media, the independent media. He's going to try to persecute people. He's going to imprison people who disagree, who are critical of him. hmm He's going to call out the National Guard and use the National Guard. And he's going to take over the police in these certain cities that have this type of complexion to harass and intimidate people. It's all written there. To do that, they had to form alliances. They had to be able to see past their individual bubble and say, wow, if we don't work together, these Negroes and the Latinos and all these other people are going to take over this country because you already know uh, in terms of population. If we're not the majority population already, it's very close when black and brown people will be the majority of this country if we're not already. That's a scary day for the white man family. Frances Cress Welsing told you about it, didn't she? Right? So if they can do that, we can't be like, oh, because I'm nationalist and I'm pan-Africanist. We can't have alliances. Who said? Who said you can't have alliances? What revolutionary movement or war you know where the person fighting it had no alliances? Like, come on. I've taught social studies for over 30 years, man. What are you talking to? It doesn't exist. Every country or people forms alliances because they need resources they don't have. They may have resources they don't have, or this country may hate that country just as much as you do. They got beef with that country like you do, so y'all have an alliance. Y'all work together to defeat that country, man. This is how geopolitics plays out. And if we stuck in this, oh no, I'm black and I'm nationalist, and we can't have it like that, we gonna lose that, fam, every day of the week. This is what I mean. The ability, so you still nationalist, you still Pan-African, but you able to see to win this, we got to move this way. And it's going to be conventional, untraditional, unorthodox, but it's the only way. And if your mind can't do that, we are in trouble. Because the people that we're going against, that are going against us, will do what it takes to keep us subjugated, to keep us exploit our labor, get our money, get our good ideas and use them against us. And if we stay, oh no, we if somebody black ain't do it, if it don't have an African name, if it not family, we better wake up, man, like for real. So really, that's what I'm trying to get to. In my upcoming workshop on the 26th, I'm going to break this down much more structured, more practical way. And we're going to look at how ideology shapes our decision making in real time, where leaders and organizations tend to go wrong, and how they maintain clarity without, and how to maintain clarity without falling into rigidity. Because understanding ideology intellectually, that's one thing, but knowing how to apply it effectively without becoming like your oppressors is an entirely different thing. And I don't hear anybody talking about it, and we got to talk about it. So if you're serious about leadership, organizing, or building something that will last and help our people, this is not optional. The difference between effective movements and failing ones is not about we don't have the intelligence or the talent or the passion. Typically, it's about we lack organization and we lack clarity and we lack application of our ideas. So if you want to strengthen how you think, how you lead, how you make decisions, I encourage you, go to the description section of the video, register for the workshop on March 26th. It's $20. Tonight was just to introduce you to the conversation. Anybody that's going to workshops, I think, will tell you that they're pretty informative, to the point. And I give you an ebook that summarizes everything we discussed in the workshop, so you don't even really have to take notes, right? The workshop, but contrary to what the fake leadership will tell you, the pseudo leaders, the pseudo intellectuals, and the pseudo organizers, the camera is not where most of the real work is done. Most of the real work in movements is done behind the scenes. Things like workshops and town halls, right? Behind the scenes, not in the camera. The real work where we teach each other how to organize, how to be better organized, to identify where we're weak and to become better. Because at the end of the day, having good ideas is important, but if you don't know how to apply them and use them, or if you're very disorganized, it will all go for naught. So, family, that's what I have to say. I'm going for a minute. If you have maybe 5 minutes to answer any questions, answers, any comments, as I look for that, I'm going to put up the things I see that I did not put up. Bomani in the building. Me and Brother Bomani do a broadcast now, family, every month. Second Wednesday of the month, 6:30 p.m. We talk about our political prisoners. He says they think they don't need our ideology, Comrade George Jackson. You absolutely need ideology. We just got to make sure, family, that that ideology keeps us open-minded. Um, Brother Jehudi says most definitely. I don't know what he was agreeing with, but he was agreeing with something. So thank you. And that's Brother Blitz, the Brooklyn General. Salute to him. He's saying, let's go. It's education time. Just trying to talk about, bring in some of the comments people said while I was giving this presentation. I just want to thank you all. Check out the description section. With that said, thank you. Peace and Black Power, family. I am done.